Hello, welcome everyone to our Learn with Leaders. I have lost count of our weeks. I'm not sure what our week count is. I think it's more than 4. I think we're on like 12 or 13. Yeah, or maybe even 14. And I'm really excited to let you guys know that the next 2 weeks after this, we have Katie and Kyle Payne joining us, and they're each going to take a week. And they have a couple really fun topics that they're going to be talking to us about. So don't forget to join us live or listen later. I know the last 2 weeks I actually haven't gotten up on YouTube yet, and that is a goal of mine to do this weekend. So we will get those 2 up. And oh my gosh, I didn't even notice. You can see my dead flowers. They need to be taken out. So sorry if you see a bunch of dead flowers back there. They're actually not all dead, but they've run their course. Anyways, okay, so I'm just really thrilled to have you all on. Tonight, I want to give you the secret to building a thriving, amazing doTERRA business. And this is something that I've actually been thinking about for the last, I don't know, like 4 or 5 weeks. I've just been trying to really hone in on what is the secret. What is like, if we could tell somebody one thing that would make their doTERRA business successful, what would it be? And I actually got a really funny text this week, or maybe it was last week. And the text said something like, well, I'll tell you at the end what the text said, because then I won't give it away. I won't give away what we're going to be talking about. So anyways, let's just jump right into it. So tonight I want to share with you what I feel like is one of my strengths. So I hope that that's okay with you. Often I do a lot of trainings on things that I'm studying personally myself because I'm trying to better myself with it. And I'm not saying that this isn't something that I don't have room to improve on, because I definitely do need to improve on this. But this is something that, as I've thought through it and I've talked with other diamond leaders, I've realized because this is natural for me, that's one reason why I've thrived in this business. So I want you guys to get a piece of paper out, and I want you to spend 30 seconds and write down how many samples you've given out in the last 30 days. So just kind of go through your mind and be like, okay, I gave one to this person, I gave one to this person, I gave one to this person. And while you're doing that, I'll talk to you just a little bit about numbers. So my husband's an accountant as his trade. Actually, he says he's in finance now, but his degree is, he got a degree from the 2nd ranked accounting school in the nation, and worked for an accounting firm, like one of the big 5, then it turned into the big 4 for years. And now he's in the finance side because accountants work a lot, basically. So he's really, really great with numbers. And he's great on Excel. I am really, really great with numbers in my head and strategizing. So together we make an amazing team, because he has the know-how and I just have, like, in my mind how things work out. So I want you to look at those samples, how many samples you think you've given out in the last month. And I want you to kind of reflect on that as I teach you about how to go through numbers in doTERRA. So, and then you'll see kind of, this will lead to the secret. Okay, so from what I have personally found, and I don't know, Michele is a top enroller too, so I would love, Michele, for you to kind of chime in on this. And Jodi Bento has enrolled a ton of people as well, so I'd love for you to chime in on this as well. But in my experience, I typically give out, in order to get one builder, I need to give about 50 samples out. I don't know, what do you think about that, Michele or Jodi, as you think about it? So here's how I came up with this number. First of all, so in order to get somebody to sign up, we need to give them a sample. And for me, if I can give out 10 samples and I follow up with them, I typically tend to enroll about 6 of those 10, which goes right along with doTERRA's retention rate randomly. Michele and Jodi, what have you found with giving samples out? Do you feel like about every 6 or out of every 10 samples you give, you can enroll about 6 people?
Yeah, I would say that's about right. I would say typically, well, I give out a lot of samples. So I do crazy stuff with my samples. Like if I'm at a restaurant with my tip, I give them a sample of Deep Blue with a little note saying, hey, I used to be a waitress. I know your feet are going to hurt at the end of the day. Use this. Here's my card if you have any questions or if you need some more. So if you're counting those kind of samples, I probably do a lot more. But if we're talking about samples where I'm actually exchanging information and following up, I would say about 5 or 6 per 10 samples I give out. That's about right.
Okay, perfect. And that's what I'm talking about, ones that we follow up with. The other ones are awesome, and occasionally those pay off. But I'm talking about those face-to-face that we give a sample and we say we're going to follow up with the class. Jodi, what about you?
Yeah, I think that sounds about right. And it's definitely a key, because if I'm not giving out samples, I'm not enrolling, I'm not getting people to classes. So yeah, it's big.
Okay, so the first thing that we know is that in order to get one builder, we need to give 50 samples out. And I'm going to give you the math on that. Okay, so on average, like we said, if you give out 10 samples, you'll probably get to enroll about 6 people. And out of 6 people, out of every 10 people I enroll, I find at least one person who's interested in some way, shape, or form in doing the business. What do you guys think? Jodi and Michele, would you agree? Like 1 in 10 or 1 in 20? What would you think it would be?
I think you have a really high I think you have a really high rate. So I don't know if I can do the math on that, but it is definitely pretty high. So Mandy has magic troll pixie dust that makes everybody want to do this.
No.
So
what do you think, Michele?
I would say like 2 out of 10 enrollments.
2 out of every 10 enrollments want to be builders. Okay, awesome. And I don't mean this doesn't have to be somebody who is like, I'm going to be diamond tomorrow. This is just somebody who's like, you know what? I'm interested in learning more about this business. Like, to me, that's potential. Like, that is potential to me. Okay, so if we say we want to find, so then if we do the math, if we get 50 samples out, then we will have signed up at least 10 people, which means we will have found 1 builder. Now, when I was at leadership this last time, I met up with Katie and Kyle Payne late one night, and Robin and Leland and Cherie Burton and some other, Michele was there, Amy was there. There was like, we just randomly met up with people. And as we were all talking, Katie leaned over to me and she said, Mandy, oh my gosh, I was talking to Carol Guest, and Carol Guest is a blue diamond in doTERRA, and she's fabulous. We love her. And she was struggling for like a year. And then all of a sudden she just bumped it up to rock star status again. Sorry, my dog's barking. So once she hit rock star status again, Katie was like, hey, Liz, come here, girl. Come on, right here. We're going to be fine. They're probably just getting home. Okay, so once she hit rock star status again, Katie was like, I want to know your secret. What's going on? And she basically said this. She said, Katie, I started doing the math. And she had hired a coach, and the coach made her do the math and was like, how do you find a builder? And so she went through and she said these same things, and she was like, well, how many people have you been enrolling? And Carol was like, 2 in the last like 3 months or something. I don't know. Like it was small. And she was like, well, that's why you haven't found a builder in a while, because you're not heavily enrolling. And so tonight, that's the secret right there. That is the secret sauce. And why is that the secret sauce? Because you can't grow your business unless you're enrolling. You can't take your business, like let's say you've got 50 people on your team or even 20 people on your team. You can't take it to 21 unless you're enrolling. And we know that with doTERRA, the beautiful part of doTERRA is that these oils will sell themselves, and the retention that we have from them is huge. So we enroll somebody, we teach them how to do doTERRA, and next thing we know, they're ordering on a monthly basis. And really the juice, the meat, the awesomeness of doTERRA is the unilevel commissions that we get. I mean, that is where the power in building this residual income comes from. Because the enrollments will bring us fast starts, and that's great. But we don't want to have to rely on those fast starts for the rest of our lives. We want the larger pools that come from the unilevels. So now, in order to get one builder, we need to give 50 samples, and we don't just have to give 50 samples, we need to follow up with people and get them to classes or do one-on-ones. So now I want you to look on your paper, and I want you to see how many samples you've given out this month alone. And then I want you to set a goal for the month of April. We're, one day away. We've got tomorrow, and then the next day is April. And I want you to set a goal for how many samples you want to get out. So the first thing we do is set an intention. So I'm going to give you 30 seconds to do that. And I actually want to find a book while you guys are doing that. So 30 seconds. Okay. I did not find my book, but that's okay. Where did I put it? Okay, so now that you have your intention set for next month, now we have to break it down. So let's say you want to sample 50 people. You want to find one builder next month. In order to get those, you need to have a class. So if you're trying to find 2 builders, how many classes do you need to have for that? Typically, in a class, we'll enroll anywhere between 1 to 5 people, unless you have a huge crowd. Like in the beginning, when we first got going with doTERRA, we had classes that were like 40 people, and we were enrolling like tons of people at those classes. But in all actuality, we probably will do 1 to 5 enrollments per class. So now I want you to look at that and say, how many classes do I need to have in April? Okay, so figure out the math.
We lost Mandy.
No, I'm here. Sorry. I'm totally here. Okay.
You're in my orange grove for a minute.
I know. I was, wasn't I? Okay, so you have set your amount of classes, and you've set the amount of people that you want to sample. So now we kind of have a goal to follow. So now let's talk about, okay, we have a list of, or we want to sample this many people, but maybe we don't know who. Like, if you're like me, you might be thinking, like, even me saying this, I'm like, okay, who am I going to get these 50 samples to? So this is why we ask you to make a names list. The names list are people that you can reach out to and give a sample to. And so when I look at the Share Success program, I think it's absolutely brilliant, because they take us through this process without us having to know the math. Like, for me, it's always just been a mathematical equation to me. It's like, you sample, like, okay, my first leadership retreat I went to, or maybe it was our first convention. Jodi, maybe this was our first convention and you were there with me. When that guy from Taiwan spoke about hot dogs.
Oh, that was the West Coast seminar or something.
Okay.
Oh, that was so good.
I know, and I can't remember his name, but he just spoke at leadership. He just made double presidential diamond or something like that. And he was like, I only get 30 seconds. Well, he did an amazing presentation at one of our first meetings we ever went to. And he said, the reason why companies are willing to sample on such large scales at Costco is because he was like, sample the hot dog and they go and buy it. And he said, and then they buy it for a lifetime. So they invest tons of money to these free samples, tons of them, so that then they have lifelong hot dog. Like, he was saying hot dogs. He was like, taste this hot dog. And you give out so hundreds and thousands of hot dogs. But then in the end, people always come back and buy. In fact, today I came home with Costco hot dogs, because we have tons of people coming into town, which I typically don't buy Costco hot dogs, but I'm like, we've got a lot of kids to feed. But we all know how they taste because we've all sampled them. And today, as I walked through Costco, every time I go through Costco, I think, this is our model. This is what we do. We sample people so that we can bring them in and share these amazing products with them. So in order to get your 50 people sampled, you actually need to go through and make a list of people that you have intention of sharing with. And the crazy thing about this is, so this past month, I've enrolled a couple people. And the one thing that I have found in this is I have every single month I have a list of people I intend to enroll. These are people I've been working with, or maybe I want to get them a sample, or maybe like I just have this feeling like this would be really great for them. And so I make a list, and on my hundreds names list, I actually narrow it down to 10 so it's not overwhelming for my mind. I'm like, okay, so who are my top 10 people I have to get samples to? And for me, like I said, it's all numbers. And in fact, Jim Rohn, one of my favorite quotes that he says is, make up in numbers what you lack in skill. And I'm telling you, that works. You just have to make it up in numbers. You got to make 1,000 samples and give them all out. And so I make a list of my 10. Now, I know I've done trainings before, and I actually write them on my mirror in my bedroom so that I see them every single day. And I've set my intention. 9 times out of 10, those are not the people I enroll that month. But within the next 4 or 5 months, those are the people that I enroll. So it's kind of like when you put your focus into something, the universe, whatever you want to like call it, I think that it's God for me. He brings me people because I'm energetically ready. I'm prepared for this. I have my samples made. I have set my intention. I have my classes. I'm doing the actions. Like, it's one thing to say you want to, but are you doing the actions? Are you writing it out? Are you giving the samples? Are your samples prepared? Are you ready? Do you have a class set that you can bring people to? And then people will begin to come. But if you decide, I want to have this class and nobody has a sample, I've held classes before where I haven't really reached out much. I've done a Facebook invite and that's it. And nobody shows up. And do I need to be surprised? No, because the numbers, they never lie. They are true. They tell us kind of the path that we're going to take. One thing that I really think about with this tool set, well, let's go on to mindset. So, because really our samples are our tool set. It's the tools that we need to get to where we need to go. But then there's this mindset, and this is actually a huge head trip that we all go through, at least often. In my case, I go through it on and off. And the headset, or the head trip that we go through is we get rejection. And the rejection comes in, and then we take it personally, and we're like, oh no, maybe I shouldn't be doing this. So often, we get that feeling, and we're like, what am I doing wrong? And we start feeling bad, and then that messes up this whole system that we have. But I want you to think of this story. When you get some rejection, I want you to think of this story. So this is actually from the Success Principles. And gosh, I should have marked it so that I could read it to you. Let me just see if I've got, nope, that's not the marking. So basically, Jack Canfield tells us that in the major leagues, in order to be paid millions of dollars, you have to have a 300 batting average. So what does that mean? That means that you are hitting the ball 3 times out of 10, which means you're missing 7 times. So that, in order to be $1 million earner in the major leagues, you miss the ball 7 times. So anytime I have that feeling of rejection and I'm feeling like, oh man, am I doing this right? Or maybe I suck at this, or any of those negative thoughts, I try and flip them and switch them. And I think about Major League Baseball players. They just practice over and over and over again. And how do we practice? We sample and we teach classes. That's the key. Sampling, teach classes, or one-on-ones, whatever you think. If you do that, your team will grow. If you want growth on your team, those are the only 3 things that you need to do to grow a doTERRA business. Everything else is extra. Like mentoring, that's extra. And it's awesome. Personal development, you'll get to a point when your team grows big enough that, yeah, you need personal development. But all of those other things, like people who are massive enrollers, that's what they do. They sample, they teach classes, and their teams just continue to grow. And okay, so this is mindset, because I'm going to get to one other thing with this. Corey Lindley said at leadership this year, and I loved this. He went into the numbers of rank advancing. And he said, if you want to hold a rank and continue to rank advance, he said, you need, like, in the amount of time that they say, like, you can get to diamond in 23 months or whatever. He said, those people are enrolling an average of 10 people a month. And for me, I love having numbers, because then I'm like, okay, great. This is awesome. I know what I'm shooting for. Now, it doesn't mean that you can't. Like, I have not been a 10 enroll. I don't think since the first month or two of my doTERRA experience, I don't think I've had a 10 enrollment month. But my diamond took 4 years. But I was, and I still am, enrolling consistently. So if you want to continue, like, you should have a goal to always be enrolling at least once a month, at least. Okay, next. Okay, Michelle just said, I just found my hundreds names list the other day when I first enrolled, and I was amazed at the amount of people off the list who are on my team and who are builders. Isn't it amazing? Like, I love keeping lists, because I go back and I'm like, I can't believe this. Like, really, when you make those lists and you set that intention, they show up.
And just to add to that, Mandy, I have people that I put on that list over 2 years ago that are now, like, within the last 2-3 weeks, reaching out and saying, okay, I'm ready. I want to do this as a business. Like, they haven't even enrolled, but they have been watching my journey. Yeah. And they're like, okay, I want on board. And they've been on my list that long.
I love it. That's so awesome. I have a couple lists that I can go back through. I've got multiple lists. I'm like a big list maker. And I look back and I think exactly what you said. It really does work to keep a list. And the secret to building successful doTERRA businesses is making those lists, sampling those people, and getting them into classes. And okay, so the last thing I want to talk about is, okay, now you've got them into the class. Okay, you've been sharing with them. You have them in the class with you. This is key. And I know that at the beginning, Jodi referenced my secret power, or my special power of recruiting. But truly, I have had classes where I don't enroll people and people have showed up. And the reason why I don't enroll people is because I don't show up authentically me. So the third and final thing in this whole secret sauce is, when you sample people, when you share with them, when you do teach a class, don't show up as Mandy. Don't show up as Michelle. Don't show up as Jodi, unless you're Jodi and Michelle. You show up and be authentically you. You share your passion, what you love, what brought you in. You tell them your story. Like, for me, I remember my first why. So Robin Jones came out and she was like, why do you want to do doTERRA? And I'm like, I don't know. I want $500 a month. Like, that was it. I was just sick of doing daycare. And she was like, and I was like, that's the stupidest thing, Robin. Like, I don't understand what this is all about. And I kind of like did pushback on it. But when I would go to do my class, like, that was it. Like, I loved the products. I believed in the company, and I was like determined to make my goal. And so truly, when you show up, if you show up authentically you're going to attract the right tribe. I recently was helping somebody separate who's not in my line, and I was going through her tree, and I was like, oh my gosh, you attract your people. Like, these people would not resonate with me. These are your people, and this is why you've got such a great organization. We were just doing some restructuring. And so show up and be authentically you. One of my favorite quotes from Simon Sinek, who wrote Start With Why, he says, people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. And so if you can get your numbers down, so when we say make an elite the very first thing we do is when you do a business, when you're like, oh, I want to do the business, we have you fill out the builder guide and we have you fill out the launch guide. And we have you fill out the elite spreadsheet because that's the numbers. Like that gives you the numbers. The only thing that's missing from there, if you flip the page, I don't know if I've got mine right here. If you flip the page, it's got a list right here that shows you, like you keep track of everybody that, oh, this is your names list. Oh, maybe it's in the launch guide. And where there's a thing where you can keep track of who you've sampled and stuff like that. Those numbers actually work. So if you do your hundreds names list, you sample all of them, and you truly show up as you do classes, you follow up, you know, get people to the classes, you will end up with 2 builders. And those 2 builders, that's all you need. When I started out, Jodi was my first builder. Boop, boop. And we busted out like Jodi, like 6 classes or something like that in like a weekend. It was crazy. And she had 3 builders on her top line in that first week because we had busted out so many classes. And so from there, we got to network there. Then I found somebody else and we did the same exact thing. So it's just this duplication process. So I don't want you to feel like you personally have to enroll 1,000 people. But it is key, and I love this new empowerment bonus, which I would love to, does anybody want me to explain the empowerment bonus, or are we all good with it? Okay, we're good. The empowerment bonus is for premiers and silvers, and it's about $200 extra a month. And so it's if you hit premier or silver and you've enrolled at least 1 person that month. So see there, this is the doTERRA is incentivizing continual enrollments. Like now the silver pool has gone from 150 to 350, which is amazing if you are enrolling. So it's really inspired. They've got all these elites popping to Premier now. Anyways, so if that's an incentivized, that empowerment bonus is to incentivize you guys to continually enroll throughout your journey. Now, Stephanie says, I remember when you were blitzing, when you were blitz inviting me to all those classes, and I think I rolled my eyes with each invite I got. Exactly. And look at you now, Stephanie, here you are. If I would have taken that, like personally, like Stephanie's one of my dearest friends. Like had I taken that personally, we wouldn't be dear friends right now. And so just remember, everybody has a season. Everybody gets to choose when that season is, and you get to share your love and your joy with them. Okay, let me look at my notes. Okay, at the very end, I was going to tell this. So I got a text this week or last that said, tell me honestly, are people who enroll unicorns in doTERRA? So basically they were saying, are they hard to find? And the answer to that is no. I have sharers who enroll. I have people who, and by sharers, I mean, they're just users and they're just like, I don't even know what I'm doing, but I shared the oils. Why are they enrolling? Because they're sharing their passion. And when you share that passion, you enroll. So the secret to building a thriving doTERRA business is to sample and enroll. And if you are doing that, you will have a thriving business. If you're wondering, why can't I get my business up and going, but you haven't had a class in a couple months, here's your answer. If you're wondering, gosh, my business is kind of staying solid, stagnant, and you haven't sampled a bunch, there's your answer. Okay, so that's it. Does anybody have any questions? They are house cats. What are house cats? I don't get it, Jodi. Wait,
there we go. No, I said they're not unicorns, they're house cats. Like everybody, you're doing your thing. Like people, sorry that my baby burped. That wasn't
totally fine.
People want to enroll. So no, enrollers are not unicorns.
Yeah. You're absolutely right. More so than ever, people want to join doTERRA. They want to right now because doTERRA is amazing. So, Okay, so do we have any questions, especially for the launch? If you're joining us from the Spring Share Success launch, I would love, this is a great Q&A time. We've got some awesome leaders on. It looks like we've got Letitia and Debbie. Hi, everybody. Jodi, Sarah.
Hey.
Any comments? Hi.
I always like to say when people are looking for enrollments that it's not a matter of finding them, it's a matter of letting your light shine bright enough that they can find you. So if you're out there and you're living authentically and you're sharing your oils and not being obnoxious with it, like I'm probably obnoxious because everywhere I go I'm like on guard, you know, whatever, but that attracts people to me because I now engage them in conversation about it, right? You have to live in a way that you're shining your light bright enough for those people to find you. So if you're not finding people, you're not shining bright enough.
I love it. So today I was at Costco and I've been trying to smile when I go out. Just smile, even if I'm just walking around. And so I walked all through Costco with a smile and everybody talked to me. I had people stopping and asking me like what was in my cart. I had people that, like this one lady, I ran into her like 4 times. She's like, hi again. Like, and I was like, I should be getting these people's numbers. Like, we could be best friends now. But it was one of those things where I was just trying, like, I just wanted to see, can I get people to engage with me with just a smile? And that's exactly the same thing with doTERRA. If you are ready for it and you're willing and you're prepared, they will come. Oh, that's creepy. I know, right? I wasn't like, ooh. I know. Sometimes I'm like, people are probably like, what is she chuckling at? Okay, so any other questions or comments? You guys are totally awesome. And I hope that you take the time to do the math. And you know what? Maybe I'll put in this, in the comments, kind of the different maths in case you didn't write it down, because really it follows a formula. Like the formula is beautiful and it works. And anytime I'm like, oh, I need to enroll somebody, I know the formula that I have to follow. So yeah. Okay. Have a great night, you all. I love you. I'm really super proud of everybody who's doing this Spring Success launch. I feel like that has just been so amazing. And I was going through my back office the other day and looking at all of our team enrollments for this month. And so many of our spring enrollees, or so many of our spring launchers have an enrollment or 2 or 3 this month. And it's just been so exciting to see. So you guys are you're following the recipe and it's working. Okay, so thank you all for joining us. I am going to end the recording now and then we can stay on later if anybody wants to say anything.